My key for this is that I highlight it. That's the thing I'm going to do. And if I do that thing, then I tell myself I have accomplished my goal. And I'm no longer going to allow myself to be stressed about all the things that I should have been doing.
Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. This podcast is for moms who are parenting differently abled children. Maybe you desire to switch to a more natural lifestyle to improve your family's health, but you have no idea where to start. You're longing for more routines and time, but every time you try to implement those tips you've spent hours researching, you realize that they do not work for your family dynamics. Hi, I'm Ashley, and in this podcast, we will focus on implementing routines, switching to a more natural lifestyle, and uprooting those old mindsets that are keeping you stuck, so you can plant yourself firmly in the truth that Jesus offers. Our focus is going to be on creating small, customizable changes that will build upon one another over time to create real impact in your family's health, your home, and in your time. If you want to hear from a mama who has been raising several children with special needs and who knows how important it is to do this in a way that is sustainable and that does not add to overwhelm, and who also has seen amazing breakthrough by switching to a more natural lifestyle, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in those earbuds, reheat that coffee for the third time, and let's dive in.
Hey mamas, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about taking small actions to defeat overwhelm. You know, you're in that phase of life, or maybe like everyone's sick, you feel like you have paperwork you need to deal with, the house is out of control, you're not feeling well yourself. It's just one of those stages where everything is piling up on itself and you feel just out of control. You feel like there is more for you to do than you could possibly ever get done. And so a lot of times when we get into that phase, we really enter that stress response where we're either fighting, we're going to flight. So you might be, kind of avoiding, like, binging on Netflix, scrolling Facebook, whatever the thing is, or you're going to freeze and you're going to do nothing at all. And I kind of tend to alternate between the freeze or the avoidance, scrolling on social media. What I want you to do is to recognize that you're in that stage, the stress response, and you are avoiding what you need to take care of. But actually avoiding or fighting about it or freezing, whatever the thing you're doing, is actually just making it worse. And so a lot of times whenever we're in that state of overwhelm, what we actually really need to do is to slow down and to take time to actually write out everything that's on our mind and make a plan. And a lot of times it feels like that's absolutely the last thing you should be doing, at least for me, because I feel like, okay, I have too much stuff to do to sit down and write about it. I need to be doing, I need to be going. And so I have to remind myself that I tend to just kind of aimlessly do stuff if I don't actually take the time to sit down and write it all out and prioritize it. I love that phrase, you have to slow down to speed up. And I remind myself of that often whenever I want to just continue going, instead of actually being intentional about what I'm doing. So what I want you to do is to sit down and block out just 15 minutes of time, and you're going to get a piece of paper, a pen, and a highlighter. And what you're going to do is you are going to brain dump every single thing you can think of that you possibly need to do. I don't care if it's like some groceries you need to buy, or an errand you need to run, or you need to clean your toilets, literally everything you can think of. So you're going to get all of that out of your brain onto paper. And it does something in your brain to write it down. It kind of takes the load off of your brain because your brain remembers, oh, it's on this piece of paper. And so everything's okay because I've got it here and I'm not going to forget about it. I wrote it down. That just kind of already is going to ease a little bit of the mental load on you. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at this brain dump list that you've created and you're going to get your highlighter out. And you get to choose however many things you want to focus on. But what I want to tell you is don't choose too large of a number. So it could even be that you choose one thing for today, and then you come back to your list, and maybe tomorrow you have enough time for 2 things. I really would probably stick to 3 things or less for the day. And what I do is I say, okay, I'm getting my highlighter out, and I'm picking one thing. So I'm going to highlight the one thing that I'm going to do today. My key for this is that I highlight it. That's the thing I'm going to do. And if I do that thing, then I tell myself I have accomplished my goal. And I'm no longer going to allow myself to be stressed about all the things that I should have been doing. Because if I think of something else that I should have done or that I should have wrote on that brain dump sheet that I didn't, I'm just coming back to the sheet and I'm going to write that down as well. Because my brain's going to continue thinking on these things. So as they come to my mind, I will come back to that piece of paper. I'll write down the other things that I forgot I needed to do. But I keep reminding myself, okay, I don't have to sit and stress on this because it's on this piece of paper. And if I think of something else, I will put it on this piece of paper. And I've got my highlighter, which is telling me what's important right now. I'm picking one thing today. I'm going to do the one thing. Maybe it's that I need to clean out my refrigerator. I highlight, clean out my refrigerator. And I tell myself, okay, if I clean out my refrigerator today, I have accomplished my goal for today. If I do anything else, if I have time for anything else, then that's just extra. But I don't have to do anything else. And I can feel accomplished with the one thing. So I highlight refrigerator and I go and I clean out the refrigerator. I don't have time for anything else, but that's okay because I accomplished my goal. So I mark it out with a pen. And then tomorrow I get up and I look for one other thing and I highlight that one thing and I make that my focus for the day. Okay, now I need to clean out my pantry. So I'm going to take 20 minutes to clean out my pantry. I do that, mark it out with a pen. I think of 5 more things that I should have done in the meantime. I'm just adding them to my brain dump list. And I'm just going to continue on like that down the list. I just love this because it is helping me. My brain is no longer constantly spinning in my to-do list because I'm reminding my brain that it's on my piece of paper. Whenever I do think of something else, if I don't have my notebook handy, I just pull out my notes app on my phone and I write it in my notes app. And when I get home later or I get to my list later, I add it to my list. And that's just reminding my brain it's written down. I'm not going to forget it. And I'm working down my list and I'm going to take care of it. And that's already decreasing my overwhelm. But then on top of that, I'm actually making forward progress on my list because I'm not expecting myself to do 8 things today, which were never going to happen. But I can expect myself to do one thing and I can accomplish the one thing. And now I'm one thing further ahead on my things that I needed to take care of. So it's really just almost tricking our brain, and also it's setting proper expectations for ourselves because I tend to expect myself to do way too much in a day that my schedule and my lifestyle doesn't actually allow for me to do. So setting a proper expectation of one thing means I can tell myself when I've done the one thing, I have accomplished what I need to do, and there's no guilt and there's no shame because I did what I set out to do today. Now, I actually love to do 3 things if possible. And there's an app called Commit to 3. And I love that app because you can actually set in, like for each day, you would go in and type in your 3 things that you want to commit to. And then as you do them, you just check them off. So I just love that feedback because, I do have my brain dump list and I am looking at that and I'm updating it, marking things out whenever I finish them, adding things when I think about it. You can always start a new list if it gets a little squirrely and crazy. I do that many times. But I just also love the kind of reinforcement of the app because it's another place I'm putting it in. So I'm taking, 3 minutes, probably not even 3 minutes. It's probably like 2 minutes to actually write out my 3 things that I'm doing for the day in the app. I've already chosen them off my sheet, but I'm writing them in the app. I love that reinforcement of, and almost like it's a reward of going into the app whenever I complete them and checking them off and saying, okay, I did my 3 for today. So as long as I did my 3, then I'm good. I've done what I need to do. And so I've mentioned this before, but this is my favorite thing to say to myself. And part of it is because of this, because I've adapted the system of just saying, okay, I don't have to accomplish everything today. And I can still feel good with accomplishing 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things. I typically don't go higher than 3. I think that begins to get into the realm of adding overwhelm again and really just setting an unrealistic expectation. But the thing I love to say to myself is it's better than it was before. And I love it. I'm 1 thing less on my list and it's better than it was before. And so it just feels so good to actually break down these tasks into a way that's actually manageable and that you can actually get things done. The one note that I do want to make is that when you're breaking down these tasks or you're writing out these tasks, if it's something that's going to take you, 30, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, I would break it down into an even smaller task. I try to keep my 3 tasks to 15 to 20 minutes. So if it's going to take me longer than 15 to 20 minutes, I will break that down. So for instance, whenever I say I'm going to clean out the pantry, let's say that to do the entire pantry was going to take me an hour. So I'm not going to write clean out the pantry because if it's going to take me an hour, I'm never going to do it. So what I will do is I will write as 1 task, clean out the freezer. And then as another task, I will write clean off the pantry shelves. And then, as another task, I might write organize canned goods or something like that. So basically I'm breaking it down. Instead of an hour, it's taking me 3 20-minute tasks. So I will pick one of those tasks for that day and I will complete that one thing. And I think just breaking it down into one, smaller time frames, and two, smaller expectations of the numbers of things we can do today, it just automatically sets us up in a way of like, it actually feels doable. Instead of whenever I think it's going to take me an entire hour to clean out the pantry, I'm never going to do it because I don't typically have an hour to just sit and clean the entire pantry. So my advice to you is just, like I said, really just start with the brain dump, write out everything you think of, know that you're going to continue to think of things. You can always add it to your list, and then just start with one thing. You don't have to start with 3, but start with one thing, make sure it's broken down into a 15 to 20 minute task, and accomplish that one thing today. And then tell yourself, I did the one thing, so I'm good. I've done what I need to do today. And then, as you move forward, if you want to go up to 2 things or your time schedule, you can go ahead and do 2 to 3 15-minute tasks, then go ahead and do that. And I do definitely recommend that Commit to 3 app. I think it's super great. I think it's a great tool. I just think it can be so helpful for us to set realistic expectations and to actually slow down, take the time to be intentional about what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. Because typically, if I end up just running around trying to do everything because I don't want to slow down, I end up actually wasting more time than if I would have just sat down and been intentional about it. So I would just love to hear from you. You can tag me on Facebook, or you can head over to our Facebook community, which will be linked in the show notes below. And you can just tell me, what is your one task that you're going to do today? Or if you're feeling super crazy and it's going to be 3 tasks, then let me know what that is. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast and that it's really just given you the encouragement to really shift the way you're thinking about your to-do list and what is creating overwhelm in your life and how you can really tackle that in a way that actually feels manageable. I will see you guys back next time.
Hey, before you go, if you found value in today's episode or you learned something new, would you take a minute to share it with someone else that you know would be blessed by it? I would also love it if you would leave me a review. This lets me know that you're enjoying the show and I love hearing from you. You can head over to our free Facebook community, Special Kind of Motherhood, to connect with me and other like-minded mamas. Until next time, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, and be constantly in prayer. Romans 12:12.